Greetings everyone and welcome back. In the last video we created our employee model, and in this video we're going to start by creating some data inside our database. We're going to do that using a factory, and in our employee model, you see we're already using the has factor trait, and it's already imported through the use keyword here. So we have the factory trait inside our employee model, and we can use that to populate our employees of table. Let's go ahead and create the factory for employees model, and we're going to say php artisan factory, this factory, and we're going to create our factory inside an employee folder. And then after that we're just going to create the factory with the same name as our model, and we're going to suffix it with the keyword factory. So I think that will do. I'm just going to press enter on my keyboard, and that should create for us the employees factory model, employees model factory inside our employee folder, and that folder inside the factories. So we've created our employee model factory, and you can see it's already being casted to our model, which is the employee model. So this factory is going to be used with the employee model to populate our employees data. So what we're going to do here, I'm just going to copy the mass assignable columns from my employee model, which is this one. Just going to carry it over to my employees model factory, which is this one right here. And this is an associative array. So what I will do, I'll just use the fat arrow like that, and here I'm just going to populate my employees data. We'll start with a name, and for the name I will use Faker to create a fake name. So I will say Faker, and I'm just going to have a name like that. For the name, I'll call it the name method, and that should give me a fake name to work with. For the image, I'm just going to call the image method from the faker, and this one's going to be image. And in the image I'll pass some arguments, and the first one will be the path. So I would like to put my images in the public folder for now. We'll change that later when we start creating a real application, but for now let's just be inside my public folder, and inside I will have images folder as well, and also employees like that. This argument will be the size. I'll have it 400, I mean, then 300. This should be 400, 300. I'll have the name, which I'll just say employee .png, and then I'll just have it having it true like that. This made you not going to use it. I just wanted to show you how we can create a fake image using the Faker library. This one's not supposed to be there, which is the email, and this one I'll just again use our Faker, and this one I'm just going to say our email should be unique, and it should be a safe email. Of course, I'll call that. It should be unique and safe email as well. And another thing we're going to use is the phone number, or employees phone number. Again, I'm going to use Faker same as this one. I forgot to pass in figure here. The same as this one, and for the name as well. So for the phone number, I'm going to get a figure there. It should be numerify, and then I'm just going to pass in the masking data that I want to have, and I'm just going to have a pound sign, then a dash, and not pound signs, 3 of them, then a dash, and then the third one will be a 4 pound signs, like that. And for the status, I'm just going to provide a random number, and this random number will just be between 1 and 3. Remember, we have status from 1 to 3 in our database, and that is our figure database that we're going to be creating. So we have the name, the image, unique email, we have the phone number, and our employees status. So another thing that we're going to do, we're going to populate our table using these figures. So let's go ahead and use Tinga on. We're going to use Tinga on our console to populate the employees table. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll initialize Tinga on my console. I'll say php Hudson, and that should bring up the Tinga shell, and this we have here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to say employee model, and then I'm just going to say factory, like that. I'm going to say make, I want to make 30 record first, that's like that, and I'm gonna say create. And it's gonna give me an error saying that I cannot write the directory public images thin employees. What I'm going to do, just going to create the folder for the thing so that it can store the image there. So I'm just going to create a folder here. I'm going to call it images. Then inside the images, I'll create another folder and I'll call it employees, like that. And I'll repeat the same code here. And still, so what I will do, I'll quit the console first and come back and try the same. Tinker, I'll initialize Tinker and try the same, this one, and still we get the same error. And I think I have a problem with the naming of this folder. Image, it should be an M instead of N. I'll exit again. I'll come back again to Tinker, then I'll try again, same command. Array merge argument 2 given. So I'm going just to bring in back the command, and instead of make, I'm just going to say count. I want to insert that records per command. So let me try that and see if it works. And as you can see on my left here, there's some images, and there we go. Now I have 30 records inside my employees table. I'm going to pause the video. I'll create some more employees inside my employees table. I'll create around 1020. So and after creating them, I'll come back. So I'll pause the video, create those employees. You can create yours on your side as well. And when I get all the employees ready, I'll come back and we continue from here. So I've just created 1200 records in my employees table, and we can continue now from here. What I'm going to do next, I'll go to my routes, and here I'll write a route that will get the employees from the employees database. So I'm going to copy this one, and here I'm just going to say get employees, and I'll be using Ajax to fetch my employees, and this will be my method. So I'll just name my method like that, same as my route, and also is my route name like that. And we've just created our route. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to go inside our employee controller here, and we're going to create the method. So we're going to say a public method, which will be named like so. Just going to accept the request object, which I'll put inside a request like that. And then I'm just going to check if the incoming method or incoming request is a Ajax request. Then I'll render my partials. You remember the partials view that we created? Then I'll render the partials file, which is right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to check if a request is Ajax, then I'll render my partials inside here. Else what I will do, I'll just return the normal employee list, which is this one like that. But at all, if it's Ajax, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to return the other one. So let me just copy this one, save some time, and now here, and this one will be the employee list partials. Employee list partial, and what I can do for now, I'm just going to say render like that. So what I'll do inside here, I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it employees, and for now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to initialize this to an empty array like that, so that I can return it right here is my array list. So I'm going to say compact, and I'll pass in the employees like that, so that we'll take our employee list partials and we'll inject it inside the employee list. After that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go inside my employee list, which is this one here, and for now I'm going to remove this one. I'll remain with the content section, and I want to create I want to bring in our partials inside here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do away with this one like that, and then inside here I'm going to create a card. So what I can do, I'll say card. So I'm just going to create a card, and inside this card I will also have a card body. So I'll also have a card body like that. You can create card header if you like, but for me, for now I'm just going to have a card body. I'm going to have everything inside my card body like that. And then here inside my card body, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a division, and I'm going to have a table. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a margin top of 1, and then I'm going to have a table. I would say a hoverable table, so to be a table hover, and table bolded. I want a table which is bolded. And lastly, I'm going to give it a class that will be my custom class. I would say employees table. Let me say employees table like that. And now all my table, it's going to be inserted inside this card body inside here. So after that, I'm going inside my jQuery, and here I'm going to have another section. I'll say I'm going to push my jQuery inside this block here. So I'll say push, and I'm just going to say custom scripts. We'll call it custom script like that. And inside this block here, I'm going to write my jQuery for this page. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a jQuery like that, and I'm gonna wait until the DOM is initialized by saying the ready function, which is of course a closure function. Like that, and then after that I will start working on my jQuery code. So what I'm going to do right now, I'll create one method, and this method I'll just call it get employees. So what I'll do, I'll say come here and say I'll create a new method, get employee. I'll say get employee list, and this method is going to accept some parameters. The first one will be the URL, and the other one will be sorting column and sorting direction, then which column we want to sort. So for now, I'm not going to provide all those arguments, so I'll just create this function which is only going to take the URL. So for now, let it just receive a URL, and I'm going to give it a base URL. And you could guess the default URL will be the URL that we've just created in our web routes. If we go back in our routes here, this is our default route. The other route will come when we start clicking on the navigation links, so that we get a different URL for each link. But for now, this one will be our default link or our default URL. So if we go back to our employee list here, I'm going to have this one as the default route. So I'm going to say route, and then I'm going to provide this route here is our default route. And for now, this function is only going to take the URL. We'll advance these methods that it takes, or this function that it takes some extra arguments as we proceed. But for now, let's just have the URL as our only argument, and which has a default of our link or our route for now. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to make Ajax call. So I'm just going to say Ajax, so make an Ajax call which will have our URL as the URL provided. So I'll say URL will be the URL that's coming from the arguments, like this, just like that. And for now, that's enough. For now, I'll just send the URL and nothing else. And I'm gonna have the type. I'll have the type of the method, or you can call it the verb. And for this one, it's obvious, it will be a get method. And then I'm gonna wait for the response, and I'll say if I get success, on my call, then I'm going to have a function and here, instead of just saying params, I will say response, because I'm getting something from this server. And if I get something from this server, which I'll call a response for this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my class here and put all the content I get from the server inside this block of code here, or inside this division here. And for me to do that, what I will do, I will just reference that part of the mockup. So I'll say I'll go get this element with the class employees table, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to say HTML, and inside it I'm going to put the whole of the response, like that. In case I don't get success though, meaning maybe I get an error, I'm going to have an error function here, or error block. I'm still going to have a function. I'll still have a response, so I will know what I can do with the response in case it's an error. And for now, what I'm going to do, just going to log the response, the error response. So I can say it's console, then log my error response. It will be an error response, so we can see what's happening, like that. And so what I can do immediately is this DOM is loaded, I'm going to call this function, like that. I don't need to provide any argument because we only have one argument, and it's already having a default value of this URL here. So after that, we're going to check and see what will happen if we call this method, or if we run this website in our browser. It should call this method when the DOM is ready, and it should return for us something. So let's go and see what it's going to return on the browser. But before we can see anything being called from the browser inside our JavaScript, or we can say what we have to do, we have to load these scripts into our main our page, or into our master page. So let's go to our master page, and here after loading the bootstrap.js, what I'm going to do, I'll load my scripts here, my custom scripts here. I'm just going to say unstuck, and as you remember, we say it should be custom scripts, so I'll say custom script, and that should bring in the scripts that we wrote on our page, which is employee list, which is this one. I named it wrongly, so that way now it should work. So let's go to our browser and see what we have. I'm going to refresh this. We don't see anything. I'll bring in the console, and we see that we have an error. We say unexpected token, and if we click here, it should show us the okay. Let's see what's happening. So we have this, we have this, yeah, and of course this one should be a function like that. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's go to the browser and try to reload our page. And now we see we don't have the error. If we go to our console here, we can see that we have get employees. We have 200. It means that it's getting the partials. Let's try to put something inside the partials here. I'm just going to say a table, for example, bootstrap table, and I would just say anything like that. I'm going to save, and then I'm going back to my browser here, going to load it, and now we have our partials being loaded to our page. We're gonna stop here with this video. When we come back, we will get the real data from employees table and list it into our page. Thank you very much for being with me on this one. I will see you in the next one.